All right, so turns out, let me just get it ready. Turns out I do have a third video for you. Just not what I expected. And this is not another court ruling, but this time it's the Oklahoma High Court rather than the U.S. Supreme Court. So, public funds for religious charter school would be unconstitutional, which, that's why it's a private school as opposed to a public school. I don't know why, when it comes to, um, the public square and businesses, and in this case, between public and private schools, but as long as it's not your private home, people seem to have a problem understanding the difference between public and private. It's very bizarre. But anyway, to the article. The Oklahoma Supreme Court on Tuesday stopped what would have been the first publicly funded religious charter school in the U.S., turning back conservatives and the state's GOP governor who had welcomed religious groups into public education. Which, again, good, because you're a religious school. You are not a public school, so why should you be publicly funded? It's just, logic. The High Court determined the statewide virtual charter school board's 3-2 vote last year to approve an application by the Catholic Archdiocese of Oklahoma for the St. Isidore of Seville virtual charter school. Lord, that's a long name. Violates the Establishment Clause, which prohibits government from making any law respecting an establishment of religion. The ruling also says both the Oklahoma and U.S. constitutions, as well as state law, were violated. So, cut and dry case. Like I said, based on what the Supreme Court has been doing, the U.S. Supreme Court, if this goes that far, I honestly do not know at this point how they would rule. I would hope that they would uphold this ruling because, well, it's literally what the Constitution says. The case is being closely watched because supporters of the school believe recent U.S. Supreme Court decisions have indicated the court is more open to public funds going to religious entities. Like I said, their rulings have been inconsistent when it comes to religion and school. So, who knows? Conservative-led states have targeted public schools. Louisiana required them to post the Ten Commandments in classrooms, while others are under pressure to teach the Bible and banned books and lessons about race, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Okay, now I'm perfectly fine with teaching the Bible in public school, because if you're teaching it as literature, then that's fine. You can teach about religion without pushing religion. So they could teach the Bible, but it would have to be part of a history of religion class, or teach the Bible as literature. You cannot teach it as a way of pushing a religion. You would have to also then include the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita. Let's see, what else am I missing? So, if you're going to want the Bible taught, you're going to have to teach other religious texts. Otherwise, it'll be seen as pushing your religion. So, yeah, I'm fine with teaching the Bible as long as then you teach about these other religious texts. And if you don't want to do that, if you have a problem with people learning the Quran or the Bhagavad Gita, then it's obvious you're not interested in them learning about religions. You want to push your religion. So that's obvious. And ban books and lessons about race. I'm sorry. Are you seriously suggesting that Christianity has a problem with race? Now, ignoring the parts of the Bible which tells the slaves to listen to their slave owners, um, and the curse of Ham, ignoring that, not all Christians are racists. So what? Sexual orientation, again, not all Christians are homophobes. And gender identity, and not all Christians are transphobes. So, and actually, the Bible doesn't actually mention homosexuality. Nor, and it's sure as hell does not mention gender identity. It doesn't mention gender at all, actually. So, yeah, those two are totally made up. And for those who point out Sodom and Gomorrah, I've read that story, and to me it reads as don't be a dick to strangers and has nothing to do with homosexuality. And as for don't lie with a man the way you would with a woman, I've heard that it was a mistranslation and that it's against pedophilia and not homosexuality. So, either way, not in the Bible, and there is absolutely no mention of gender in the Bible, let alone trans identities. Just not a thing. Under Oklahoma law, a charter school is a public school. Justice James Winchester, an appointee of former Republican Governor Frank Keating, wrote in the country's court's majority opinion, I can read, as such, a charter school must be non-sectarian. And this is Oklahoma saying it, so yeah, it's good to see that there are still people who are willing to follow the law as opposed to, because I'm sure most of these people are Christian. So, yeah. However, St. Isidore will evangelize the Catholic school curriculum while sponsored by the state, which, as was pointed out, is illegal. The Archdiocese of Oklahoma City and Diocese of Tulsa said in a statement they will consider all legal options in response to the court's ruling, aka take this all the way to the Supreme Court. Because I'm sure there's an appellate court before the Supreme Court. There's gotta be. Because this is the state Supreme Court. So I'm assuming there's an appellate court, at least one, before the Supreme Court. The court's decision was 7-1, with one member concurring in part and one member, Chief Justice John Kane IV, recusing himself. Justice Dana Cohen dissented. I would love to know why. And, what part of the concurrence that one justice agreed to, why the Chief Justice recused himself. Was he a contributor to the school? Because why else would he recuse himself if he wasn't a financial backer of the school? But regardless, at least he has the ethics to actually recuse himself when he should, unlike some justices, which we will not name. 5 of Oklahoma's 9 Supreme Court justices were appointed by Republicans, 4 by Democrats. In case you think that this is a Republican versus Democrat issue, it's not. In her dissent, Cohen wrote that excluding St. Isidore from operating a charter school based solely on its religious affiliation would violate the Free Exercise Clause of the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. How? Nobody is saying that they can't be religious. They just can't use public money to be religious. You can be all the religious you want. If you want to indoctrinate kids into the Catholic religion, fine. Nobody's stopping you. You just can't use tax dollars to do it. If people want to give to this school, great. That is their right. But, an Oklahoman who, who's definitely not Catholic, whether they be of a different religion or no religion whatsoever, they should not have to pay for that school. So, the Oklahoma Constitution does not bar Oklahoma from contracting with religious schools as long as state-funded, non-religious options are available, Kuhn wrote. I can't say anything about that because I honestly do not know if that's true. Oklahoma's Republican Attorney General Gentner Drummond. What the heck is Gentner? I have never heard that name, but okay. Who urged the board not to approve the contract, had asked the state's high court to intervene and rule on the case. He praised the court's decision. In case you thought all Republicans were completely religious nuts. Not all of them. Some of them actually still care about the law. The framers of the U.S. Constitution and those who drafted Oklahoma's Constitution clearly understood how best to protect religious freedom by preventing the state from sponsoring any religion at all, Drummond said in a statement. The K-12 online public charter school was set to start classes for its first 200 enrollees in the fall, with part of its mission to evangelize its students in the Catholic faith. The Archdiocese is seeking guidance from attorneys on whether to open, said Brett Farley, the executive director of the Catholic Conference of Oklahoma. A group of Oklahoma parents, faith leaders, and a public education nonprofit sued to stop the establishment of the school. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt, who supported the board's decision, said he was disappointed Drummond challenged it and remained hopeful the U.S. Supreme Court would consider the case. And like I said, I honestly don't know. My gut says that the Supreme Court will uphold it because the Supreme Court has shown that they do not recognize the separation of church and state or maybe they recognize it as long as it doesn't involve atheism. That's a possibility too. I don't know. But I don't know. They just refuse to hear a case about Connecticut's dropping a religious exemption to the vaccine mandate. So, I don't know. I really don't know. It's not clear cut. I don't trust them, but it's possible that they might see reason. I'm concerned we've sent a troubling message that religious groups are second-class participants in our education system, Stitt said in a statement. No, you're not second class. You can do whatever the hell you want. You just can't use public funds to use it. How does that make you second class exactly? There is a separation of church and state. You've always had public schools, private schools. I'm not sure what the problem is. Why are religious people, especially these Orthodox Christians or whatever the hell denomination he considers himself, maybe Catholic, why do so many of these religious nuts want to make themselves victims? You're not being persecuted. Nobody is going to hammer you into a frickin' cross. Nobody's crucifying you. Why are you so adamant to make yourself victims? You're not. This has been the case since the beginning. You do not get to force someone who isn't religious or who is of a different religion than you to pay for your kids' religious education. I don't see why you consider that, why you say religious people are second class participants. No, you're not. You're just you're free to practice your education and your religion, just not using public funds. I just don't see why you think that's second class. All right. Charter schools are incredibly popular in Oklahoma. That's nice. And all we're saying is we can't choose who gets state dollars based on a private entity's religious status. Yeah, actually you can, because that's the point of private education. Why do people not get the fact that public and private are different things? It's just, ugh. They make it sound like they're telling them, oh, you can't run a religious school. And that is the end of the article. Oh, you can't run a religious school. Nobody is saying that. I mean, if you can raise the funds, fine. Do it. But don't ask Oklahoma to pay for it. And if that makes you feel like you're second class, I don't know what else to tell you, dude. I just have no clue what to say. You're allowed to practice. You're allowed to have your education. Nobody is forcing you to have a school with lesser facilities than public schools. Nobody is saying that you can't do this, can't do that. As long as it's not publicly funded, you can do what you want. It's just that simple. But anyway, like I said, that is the end of that article. AP always ends their articles very weirdly. It's like there should be more and there's nothing. But anyway, with that, that's all I have for this video, and I will see you guys in the next one.